All I can say after this week's episode of Ranking of Kings is let's go. I mean, Bojji coming into the rescue was good enough for this episode to be maximum hype, but to set it up with the snakes coming in clutch first and foremost, this episode was amazing. This anime in general is a masterpiece, and no one could convince me otherwise. To see what Bojji was able to do with his training, and to really get some more clarification of the rock, because back when Bojji was training with Despa, right, we saw that he destroyed a boulder, and I was wondering, were we going to see that in action when it came to a fight? And what better way to demonstrate that than a giant with a giant hammer? And to see that devastating force that pushed Dorje to basically break his ribs, to see my man, my boy, stand up like the cinnamon roll he is, but the badass he is. If you're on his good side, sweetest boy ever. You're on the bad side, your precious hammer, a little poke in the right spot, and it shatters the formation. And I love getting kind of like that clarification and the idea of demonstrating it first with a diamond in the flashback, to then seeing, it's no surprise. Imagine being that large, that in charge, with that badass weapon, and a little boy who can't speak with a little, it looks like a toothpick that this guy would use. He pokes you once, you get knocked out. And I love how when he comes to, of course he would break the ropes. You knew the ropes weren't going to work unless they used actual chains. I knew it was going to happen. But I thought it would be round 2 and it'd be an ongoing gag. Like, Bojji wouldn't even really focus on him. He'd just kind of poke him and continue on with what he was doing. But the fact that he swore his loyalty, because he went from probably having not many people be able to put him in his place, to somehow this kid use a technique that is boggling my mind. I don't care whatever my original plans were, I'm gonna follow this kid because clearly he can protect me more than I can protect myself, and I'm like, that is amazing. My absolute favorite part though was definitely the reunion with the Queen and Bojji, because they definitely had a rocky relationship when it came to like the present day when the anime kicked off. In the past we see how much she cared for him, but I mean, in this episode, she gets the bombshell that he could read lips the whole time. So in public, she was very much playing up the role that she needed to, but she always cared about him. And I think it'll be interesting to see her probably eventually apologize for some of the things she said out loud, thinking he couldn't hear, because ultimately she was trying to make it so his life would be better and people would leave him alone, sort of a thing. But there's definitely going to be an interesting conversation when that's all over, if she does continue to survive, because I mean, Queen Hilling's had a death flag ever since Bojji left the kingdom, and she's survived it up until this point, so you never quite know, are they going to play into that trope of the mother ending up dead, or is she going to actually survive? For Bojji's sake, I hope she does, because he already lost one mother, and clearly he very much cares about her, given everything that's happened. But to see how when the snake comes in clutch, I mean, the snake comes underground, and I absolutely love that, right? Because at first, I thought what was going to happen was the king was going to come to the rescue, because Queen Hilling is crying out in agony, and the king literally breaks down the gate before thinking of Miranjo and turning back and kind of sulking, contemplating his dilemma. But I think what probably happened was the king said, summon your snakes, and most likely that's how that entire formation went down. But I like the idea when they come in, because you go from having all these beasts kind of lashing out at Dorje, who, I mean, it's no surprise he lost his leg. The biggest surprise was that didn't slow him down. If anything, it sped him up, because he knew he was bleeding to death and he only had a few minutes to spare at best. And to see him just punching and just trying to save her, as then she uses the last of her potions. And I knew that was going to be bad. I just didn't think it would be for the snake. Totally convinced the snake was going to die in that moment, because she was out of her potions. It was crystal clear. She was been healing people herself. Her loyal knight, I mean, Dorje, like, there's no way she could heal a giant snake unless she was, like, at a bar of just mana potions. So when Kage and company come in, and he starts pulling these bottles out left and right, every time she's, like, drinks a potion and starts healing, it reminds me of Popeye when he eats his spinach. Just the way her face goes, she's so into it. The lighting effects are beautiful, and she's just popping these back like it's a brewski, as she actually saves the snake. And I was surprised. I was expecting a death here. And just because there wasn't a death doesn't mean it distracts from the episode or negates it. No, I am happy. Them surviving in the way they did completely makes sense. From the healing of his leg so that he doesn't bleed out, So at that point, he can just cover it up with basically some cloth and some rope. And because it was basically the ankle downwards, he mostly has his leg intact. So a prosthetic is definitely going to be able to compensate for his lack of kind of mobility. That would have been very drastically horrible if it was from the knee downwards. But to just see, like, from thinking of what Bojji was like back in the day, like if the town was on fire, he would carry a cup and try to splash the water. As brutal and I think as hostile as it was for Daida to say what he said, he was an asshole in that situation. But given the fact that you needed a giant or someone who could carry a giant pail, of course, there's only one thing that's actually going to help. It's the thought that counts, but given, everything going down, you can understand. And I love seeing Queen Hilling just think of that moment, knowing how kind he's always been and how he's always wanted to be someone strong. And to see him be the person who literally changed a moment from both of them dying into probably arguing one of the best allies you could have given all the shit going down. And then they even casually reveal like what's going on with the true motives of kind of invading the kingdom and the idea of kind of getting an idea of what Oaken is. Apparently he started out as the most kind-hearted prince in general, but because of immortality, the first thing it takes is your soul, and it turned him into one of the cold and most ruthless characters probably the world has ever seen. I mean, he doesn't kill, he makes sure he wounds and watches characters bleed out. Knowing that he did start out as probably one of the nicest people that you would ever meet in this world, to seeing who he is now and just seeing the lightning bolt coming clutch as well. I mean, from lightning bolt, snake, Bojji, I mean, the characters in general did rather well, which is a pleasant surprise given the kind of brutality we've been experiencing the last couple of episodes of Ranking of Kings. But holy shit, just like, the action was great, the emotional moment's fantastic. Probably my second favorite moment in the episode is when Queen Hilling is talking down to Kage, because she doesn't know the history of Kage, but just swear your loyalty. And he's like, you're an asshole. And he's just getting so mad and starting to cry as the snakes casually reveal, actually, he's already saved the prince's life so many times. And then the apology sequence afterwards, just so great. I might go as far to say this is the best Ranking of Kings episode for me. It's the one that has me the most excited. There was points I was pausing, being like, I can't believe that happened. The snake, Bojji coming in, the lightning strike, the clarification on different things, and those emotional moments. And I think just seeing how everyone had a part to play in this episode, from Dorche holding out longer than anyone should be able to, the healing from the queen, Bojji's sword style, Kage bringing in the potions without the snake would have died, the lightning strike, everything about it just felt like, holy shit, I am so happy for now things worked out. Of course, things won't continue to work out, otherwise it'd be too easy of a story. But it's hard not to come out of this episode gushing, feeling like a kid on Saturday morning, watching your favorite show and the heroes kicking some ass and taking some names. Very, very excited to see more thoughts and feelings on this week's episode of Ranking of Kings. Favorite moment if you have one. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.